ጤና ይስጥልኝ የአዲስ አበባ ላለው ከዚሁ ከሲያትል ያለው አርቲስት ነኝ ዛሬ እዚህ ያለነው ኖርዝ ዌስት አፍሪካን አሜሪካን ሚውዚየም ውስጥ ነው ያለነው በዚህ ሚውዚየም ውስጥ በዛሬው ቀን በኢትዮጵያ ሪድስ እና ተስፋ በሚባሉ ኦርጋናይዜሽንስ አማካኝነት ለመርካቶ ለሚገኝ የልጆች ትምህርት ቤት ገንዘብ መዋጮ የሚሆን ፈንድሬዚንግ ያደርግን ነው በመጀመሪያ ደረጃ ስለ ፈንድሬዚንግ ከማውራቴ በፊት ስለ ኢትዮጵያን ሪድስ እና ስለ ተስፋ አጠር ያለ ማብራሪያ መስጠት ምን እንደሆኑ ብዙ ጊዜ እነዚህ ሁለት ኦርጋናይዜሽኖች ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ ትምህርት ቤት ባልተሰራባቸው ቦታዎች ላይብራሪ ባልተሰራባቸው ቦታዎች የገቡ አነስ ያለ ላይብራሪ እየሰሩ ከዌስተርን ካሉ ሰዎች እዚህ አሜሪካና ሌሎች ሀገር ካሉ ሰዎች ፈንድሬዚንግ ያሰባሰቡ ሀገር ውስጥ ያሉትን ሰዎች ለመርዳት የሚጥሩ ኦርጋናይዜሽኖች ናቸው እና እኔ በኢትዮጵያዊነቴ እነዚህን ኦርጋናይዜሽኖች ለመርዳት በጣም ኢንተረስትድ ስለሆንኩኝ ከዚህ እዚህ ልንደርስ ችለናል እዚህ ሲያትል ያለውን ፕሮግራም እዚህ እንዲመጣ ያደረገችው ኤለኖር አንጀሊዲስ የምትባል ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ ልጇን አዳፕት ያደረገች እና በዛ ምክንያት ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ ያለውን ሁኔታ ሄዳ ከተመለከተች በኋላ ከባሏ ጋር ባለፈው በሄዱ ጊዜ ላይብራሪ አይ ቲንክ ጎንደር ውስጥ ከፍተው ነበር አሁን ደግሞ አዲስ አበባ ውስጥ ለማሰራት አስባ እኔን ኮንታክት በመታረገኝ ጊዜ አንዳንድ ነገር ዲስከስ አድርገን ከዛ የመነጫ ሐሳብ ነው እንግዲህ ዛሬ እዚህ ደረሰው እና እውነት ለመናገር የራሷ ጥረትና የራሷ ፍላጎት ነው እዚህ ያደረሰው በዛሬውም ቀን እዚህ የተገኙት ወንድሞቻችን እና አያቶቻችን ግማሾቹ ኢትዮጵያኖች ግማሾቹ የውጭ ሰዎች ናቸው ያንን ለዛ እርዳታ ተባብረው ይሄው ዛሬው ፕሮግራም በጣም ሰክሰስፉል የሆነ ስታርት ይመስላል በዚህ አጋጣሚ ለተማሪዎች መልካም የሆነ ነገር እንደሚደረግና ያ ነገር ደግሞ ተማሪዎች ወደፊት ሲያድጉ የተማሩ ሲሄዱ ስለ ሀገራቸውና ስለ ራሳቸው በበለጠ ጠንቀው እንዲያውቁና እንዲያድጉ ስለሚረዳቸው እንደዚህ አይነት ፈንድሬዚንግ ኢትዮጵያኖች እንዲሳተፉበት ጥሪ ያቀርባሉ ምክንያቱም ለምንድነው ህፃን ልጅ ስናስተምር የራሳችን ፊውቸርና የራሳችን ተስፋ ነው ያሳደገን የምንሄደው የራሱን ልጆች ማያሳድግና ትምህርት የማይሰጥ ጀነሬሽን ብዙ ጊዜ ይወድቃል እንጂ አይሰምርም እናኛ በአሁኑ ሰዓት በጣም አስቸጋሪ ሁኔታ ላይ ያለነው ምክንያቱም ትምህርት ቤቶች በቂ ገንዘብ የላቸውም የህዝብ ቁጥር እኛ ድሮ ከኢትዮጵያ ስንወጣ 30 ሚሊዮን ነበሩ አሁን 80 ሚሊዮን ነው which is በታስቡት 3 ጊዜ እጥፍ ነው that means ትምህርት ቤቶች ካልተሰሩ ድሮ እኛ ስንጣበባቸው የነበሩ ትምህርት ቤቶች የበለጠ ተጣበዋል ማለት ነው በቂ ትምህርት ሊያገኙ አይችሉም ማለት ነው ስለዚህ እኛ ከዚህ ጥሩ ሁኔታ ላይ ያለን ኢትዮጵያኖች በዚህ አጋጣሚ በቻልነው ያህል አድርገን አገራና ህዝባችንን መርዳት እንችላለን ሆነን ለመናገር ኢትዮጵያኖች ብዙ ጊዜ ራሳችንና ቤተሰባችንን የምንረዳ ሰዎች ነን በዛ በጣም ምን መኩራት አለብን ወንድሞቻችንን ምንም ዘመዶቻችንን የምንረዳ አገራችንን እንደረዳ ነው የሚቆጠረው ግን እንደዚህ አይነት አጋጣሚ ደግሞ ሲገኝ በተቻለ አቅም ተሰባስበን የበለጠ ብንሳተፍ ጥሩ ነው ብያምናለሁ እና ዛሬ ከማያችሁ ሰዎች አንፃር ያ መልእክት ጥሩ የተላለፈ ይመስለኛል ለወደፊትም እንደዚህ አይነት ነገር ስናዘጋጅ ብዙ እንደምትተባበሩ ተስፋ አደርጋለሁ በዚህ አጋጣሚ በኢትዮጵያኖች ስምና በኮሚኒቲው ስም ኤለኖር እና ቤተሰቦቿን ለዚህ ፈንድሬዚንግ ያደረገችውና ስለ ሀገራቸው ላይ ስላለው ጥሩ ነገር ስላሳየች ምስጋና ላቀርብ ፈልጋለሁ ትዝላችሁ እንደውም በቅርብ ጊዜ ኢትዮጵያዊ ሃና የምትባል ልጅ ከኢትዮጵያ መጣ እዚህ ሀገር አዳፕት ተደርጋ ሞታ ነበር እንደዛ አይነት የሚያሳዝን ታሪክም እንሰማለን ከእንደገና ደግሞ ኢትዮጵያኖች ከዛ ልጅ አዳፕት አድርገው እንደነ ኤለኖር አይነት ሰዎች ደግሞ ጥሩ ነገር ሲሰሩ እናያለን እና በዛ ነው የምንጽናናው እና እንደዚህ አይነት ሰዎች ደግሞ ስናገኝ አዘ ኮሚኒቲ መርዳት አለብን ብዬ እላለሁኝ ስለሰጣችሁኝ ሰዓት አመሰግናለሁ ዛሬ በዚህ ፕሮግራም ላይ የኔ ፔይንቲንጎች ሁለት ፔይንቲንጎች ይሄኛው ለዚህ ፕሮግራም በየሰራውት ብርሃን የሚባል ነው ከእንደገና ደግሞ ሌላ ፔይንቲንግ ላይፍ ላይን የሚባል የሰራውት በጨረታ ይደረግና ገቢው ለትምህርት ቤት ይሆናል ማለት ነው ስለ አዳመጣችሁኝ አመሰግናለሁ ኢትዮጵያ ዩዝ ኮሚኒቲ ቴሌቪዥንም ስለሰጠኝ እድል በጣም አመሰግናለሁ በመሰሩት ነገር ኮራለሁኝ ስለዚህ በርቱ እላችኋለሁ
We saw the picture of our little daughter born halfway around the world We were in love with her before we even met her We traveled to Addis Ababa where we met her for the first time. And you can see there her little eyes took in everything, and that's still the case. What I loved about it was done by someone who learned to read late in life and was inspired to bring libraries back to his home country. And it involved authors and founders who were just individuals, not of significant means, but who had a passion and a will to bring together a community to do some great things. About a year later, I actually got to meet one of the founders, Jane Kurtz, who you will hear from later today, and really started library planting. And our first library with Ethiopia Reads, we planted in Layla's hometown of Bahadar. And part of the reason we were so interested in libraries is the opportunity gap that exists between folks who are born here and folks who are born halfway around the world. But there's so much hope and so much opportunity to change that, and that's why we're here today. This was Layla's first trip back to her hometown of Bahadar with her brothers, who found the nearest tree. And as part of that wonderful day, this is actually not far from the Blue Nile Falls, if those of you are familiar with Ethiopian geography. And that day we also visited our first library. And Layla was the guest of honor, although I don't think she fully appreciated it. And we got to see a school where she might have attended and be a part of putting a library there for the children who will attend. And yes, she enjoyed every last bit of it. These are some of the folks that will take the library forward, the headmaster of the school and some of the officials of the neighboring area who will make the library a part of this curriculum. And it's actually a collaboration among the Ethiopian government and school system and some different organizations.
And then also for all the volunteers and the Ethiopia restaurant for providing some of the food. So now that said, what is Mercato? I grew up in the Mercato area. Mercato is a big market. On the books, there are 13,000 employees and 7,100 businesses and 2,500. That's just in the book because half of that, more than that number, people just showed up to make business there. It provides a lot of hope to a lot of people because of the market. People will come and sell whatever they have and provide food to their families. So this big market is one of the largest markets in Africa. And it's very crowded. If you really think about opening credits when they showed New York and people just walking and stuff, just look exactly what Mercato looks like. It's very crowded. It's very crowded. That's the only way I can explain it. So as you can imagine, that's not the right place for kids to grow. And I grew up there in Mercato. Very limited numbers of schools with tons of people live in that area, which makes it very hard for students to make it because their parents are working the daytime and there's no parents. A lot of bad things that come from Mercato, prostitution, begging, stealing, things like that, which is not a good thing for students to see. So when I see people come out to help kids like that, I can't even tell you how important it is for those kids you help them today because they don't have a proper school, they don't have a proper place to go to, libraries to read at. So I think they greatly appreciate what you guys do for them today. So as you see, life in Mercato is very tough for kids. And when we do fundraising like this, it actually helps them a lot. And these fundraisings are way different than most of the aid that goes to Africa because there's no overhead for people who do stuff like that. So when we get help like that, it goes straight to the kids and they will see their libraries and the school built. That's why what Ellenore and her family is doing and what Tesfa and Ethio is doing is very important to kids over there because they're not part of this big organization that takes most of their money for local government people and also for their officials. This goes straight to the schools, and that's why you'll see schools built and libraries built, and it's very important that we support this kind of fundraising. And also, Jen was with me last spring when we were in Los Angeles to help another school in the Mbaka area. And today, that school is almost half built. And it shows you how exactly the money that you're raising today goes straight to these kids and without any, the money wasted in different officials or government people. So it's very important to do that. And I believe personally, when you educate kids, you open their eyes, you open the world to them. So that's why my painting is inspired by that. If you see that painting, you have the kids shining a light on them. Basically, that's what we're doing right now. We're shining a light on the kids in Mercato to give them a better hope and better option. And as a person who lives here in the United States, I believe the right way of helping kids is not just to send them stuff, but to teach them, to show them that they have the potential to grow and to succeed, to change the world. That's the only way I can see that we can help Africa. Because in the last 40 years, more than $1 trillion are helped from Western countries, but there's less change in Africa. That's because the people in Africa was not right, and this is the kind of help that they need, is to show them how to use their own potential, to educate them, and to make them aware of their surroundings so they can help themselves and other people. So with that, I will stop, and then I'll thank you very much for stopping by and giving me this chance, and I'm very happy to be here.
I've lived in Ethiopia for the past 10 months, and as an Ethiopian American, you take sometimes your culture for granted and your heritage and where you come from. And living there definitely opened my eyes to the struggles of the everyday Ethiopian, and especially concerning the global crisis that we're in right now. I still have to be thankful that although we are in an economic global recession, this is probably the best place to be in a recession. And coming from Ethiopia definitely opened my eyes, and I'd like to thank Ellenore for also concomitantly providing me with the opportunity to read tonight and share my word with you. Thank you. This poem is titled God's Forgotten Children. God's forgotten children, who roam through unpaved roads carrying coffee in their insides with dark eyes, open hands, and empty stomachs. Slender skeletons, shimmy-shaking dust from the clutch of an empty hut. Little girls, braiding imagination from their feet to their hairlines. A place where you could see a child thumb-sucking 13 months of sunshine from empty skylines. How can we not provide for those who ask for so little when we constantly beg for so much? With sun-kissed skin, so much laughter you thought they carried the wind, and just enough God in their smiles to baptize your sins. If it is a joy we are after, then the tragic and comic communicate through laughter. This is an ode to the dream that tucks itself in the riverbed sheets of the Blue Nile, and the contortionist orphans fitting dreams into time capsules that were never intended to shed sand. Children, in the crevices of back alleys roams the frequencies of an orphan's lullaby that imprints marathon footprints marching for the distance. Children, collecting postage stamps in tin buckets so they can throw love letters down the throat of a dormant God who does not wish to respond. Children, a young child so dark and tall you mistake him for Hakeem. His dream is not the NBA, but food for the next day. And with the body worn out and broken like a promise, his eyelashes outstretched like arms waiting to grasp the world as if to say, examine the archaeological remains. Because with an ongoing civil war that is far from civil, Lucy is not the only skeleton dug beneath barren soil examined with a chisel. So while newscasters, mundane small talk, brush over anecdotes of death in Africa's east, a child circumscribes cityless plains with eulogies. The God-forgotten land that had the most humble stake in her rigidly loose faith, mothered her firstborn with absolutely no mistakes, the land of the burnt face, Ethiopia, the first place a child was ever raised, the first ground a human being laughed, ate, wept, slept, and prayed, the only nation in the world that resembles a crooked heart trying to skip itself to the nearest body of water, the only land I claim citizenship without a visa or any regrets, so forget American Express, Ethiopia, never leave home without it. This one is this poem I wrote a few nights ago. It's called Endorphins, also The End of Orphans. It goes like this. Dear African dream, a galaxy of celestial orphans orbits a fortress made of laughter banter to protect chapters from the hereafter. Statured like dusty bookshelves with eyes the color of inkwells, they dance across the dusty streets like unnecessary commas with grammatical problems, pausing each time to find life in novel pleasures far from novels. Their narratives are non-fiction depictions of unwritten missives sent to those who will listen. With features that put the face in prefaces, we swiftly scan through them. Their hunger is figurative and literal. Infants are the infant seed of infant seed seminal and indelible, giving words to ineffable when they are unable to find what is edible. In short, life is short, and their thoughts of food remain our food for thought. While a child kisses question marks in the dark as we chart our talks like bookmarks. In addition, they subtract mothers and fathers to recognize how to valorize the periods in their life, the different periods in their strife and the point of these periods, period. In other words, the language of their struggle is syntactic, not semantic, meaning bastards do not mean to look for meaning, but solely hope. Their life is short of a short story, but they praise upon the Lord thee, so I could find a pair of folks to finish this broken anecdote they call an ode. This life, their own, as they roam cobblestone roads with old woes that may lead to a home that is not korkoro. To the orphans who put the end in endorphins. Little African advocates of happiness, who walk like Ellison's somnambulists as protagonists who tend to fashion him from the hymns of Lazarus. Ever since there was a Willie Lynch, we have stalked like Ralph Ellison's to find an American, to hold our hand, possibly take us back to his land. Yet the only noose we know is Tasro and Mercato, where we slang strings of knowledge in hopes of pulling wallets. There is no kud, when we slang kud to snatch bud to eat misud, midnight and Mr. No. Know that African book trades and triangle trades would read of a middle passage, i.e. the 16th century vis-a-vis Mali and Caliphs, Ethiopia, that was we. Living in the hood days from Medley, we used to book trade like Yafta Nuguse Bikine. In day from Lake Thana to Ezana, not in Guadalupe, Jacquet to Star Spangled, we have dangled through every page of history as anonymous footnotes. Their prospects are death sentences. Nevertheless, they do not know how to write. They do not know of their rights. They do not know of Richard Wright. Yet we are the native sons and sister outsiders who see UN pathfinders pass by us and pray a path would find us. Maybe life could offer us a position as an arbiter, a stenographer, or maybe a police officer to ask if I could let an M16 scream like ta-ta. Even then I wouldn't ask, menayin ta-ta. We staggered like footnote daggers, jumping like paragraphs on an epitaph of dusty tracks paved beneath us to complement craters as the makeup to moonless features. Eclipsed with auburn tints, we all exist to part our fists as novelists into sunlit where our sons lived. Why do our children know not where the first child was raised? We represent the green, yellow, and red, but all we wanted to do was to be read.
Libro con